Signing a big name off the free agent market always comes with a ton of hype, followed by a bunch of skepticism. What if this player's best days are behind them? What do they bring to the table, and can they be the missing piece your team needs to get the opportunity to hoist the Stanley Cup at the end of the season? We've seen a lot of free agent signings work out, but we've seen a lot completely bust, and that is what we're going to be looking at in this video. Here are the top 6 worst free agent signings in NHL history. Sheldon Surrey, the Edmonton Oilers. In the 2007 offseason, the Edmonton Oilers went shopping for a star defenseman. They found their man in Sheldon Surrey, signing him to a 5-year contract worth $27 million. Surrey had spent the first 9 seasons of his career between the New Jersey Devils and the Montreal Canadiens, and was coming off a huge year with the Canadiens. He had scored 26 goals and notched 64 points in 81 games during the 06-07 season, which he then parlayed into a huge contract with the Edmonton Oilers. Yet prior to his breakout season, Surrey had played average hockey and was highly injury prone, missing significant portions of time, including the entire 2002-2003 season. In his first season with the Oilers, Surrey was slated to make $6.25 million. However, similar to the majority of his career at that point, the Edmonton native once again ran into injury problems. Sheldon ended up playing in only 26 games with the Oilers in the 07-08 season, in which he only scored 3 goals and 10 points. However, Surrey's second season was his only successful campaign with the Oilers, in which he managed to play 81 games, scoring 23 goals and 53 points, and was named an All-Star. This was the only season in which the Oilers got what they paid for. The following 2009-2010 season witnessed much of the same from Surrey, who once again battled a multitude of injuries. Due to an early concussion followed by a hand injury which became infected, Surrey was only able to play 37 games. In that third season with the Oilers, Surrey scored a mere 13 points and had a disastrous -19 rating. Prior to the 2010-2011 season, Sheldon Surrey demanded a trade from the Oilers, but due to his high cap hit and inability to stay healthy, no teams were interested in his services. Unable to trade Sheldon Surrey, the Oilers eventually put him on waivers before he was loaned out to the Hershey Bears of the AHL. Surrey finished the year with the Bears before the Oilers finally bought out his contract, and they were forced to pay Surrey $3 million over 2 years to not play on their team. Mark Messier and the Vancouver Canucks. Absolutely nothing went right when Mark Messier signed a huge free agent contract with the Vancouver Canucks in the summer of 1997. Popular Canucks captain at the time, Trevor Linden, voluntarily allowed Messier to wear the C, but was soon traded to the New York Islanders in a deal that was never popular with Vancouver fans who loved and respected Linden for all his years as a Canuck. On top of that, Mark Messier also wanted his number 11 back, but the Canucks had unofficially retired it for the late Wayne Mackey, who died unexpectedly in 1974. Well, Messier got the C and his number, but Vancouver fans hated him for it. So it's safe to say he got off to a rocky start in Vancouver. Messier was reunited with his Stanley Cup winning coach in New York, Mike Keenan, but this time this relationship did not work out as well. Messier only scored more than 20 goals in one of his 3 seasons in Vancouver and never totaled more than 60 points. He was a double-digit minus player in all 3 seasons, and he never led the Canucks to the playoffs despite his reputation as one of the greatest captains in NHL history. The fans of Vancouver never really accepted Messier, and at this point in his career, age and injuries started to slow him down on the ice. After his time with the Canucks, Messier re-signed with the Rangers, where he finished his career playing 4 more seasons. Overall, Messier's time in Vancouver started with a lot of fanfare, but didn't work out for either the player or the team. David Clarkson, the Toronto Maple Leafs. After spending the first 7 seasons of his NHL career with the New Jersey Devils, David Clarkson was hitting the free agent market for the first time. The Toronto Maple Leafs won the sweepstakes, signing the winger to a 7-year, $36.75 million deal. With the Devils, Clarkson was an average player, if that. In 426 games with the club, he had 97 goals, 170 points, and 770 penalty minutes. However, he did look good in the Devils' playoff run in the 2011-2012 season, where they reached the Stanley Cup Finals before falling to the LA Kings. Clarkson had 3 goals and 12 points in the 24 playoff games played and was a +8. There was a lot of pressure on the newcomer, especially coming into a crazy hockey town like Toronto. Before he even got there, he was being labeled as the next Wendell Clark. And obviously because he's on this list, Clarkson did not fill that role. In 118 games as a Maple Leaf, he had 26 points and a -25 rating to go along with his 185 penalty minutes. Right off the bat, Clarkson got off to a terrible start in Toronto. In his first preseason game with the team, he jumped over the boards to get involved in a fight, resulting in an automatic 10-game suspension. It was all downhill from there. The Clarkson era brought a lot of hope to the city's fans and the organization, but it all came crashing down rather quickly. Redden and the New York Rangers. Redden had become known as one of the better defensemen in the NHL and, as a result, was a highly sought-after player by many teams. Redden had played all previous 11 years of his NHL career with the Ottawa Senators, with which he was a force both offensively and defensively. On top of a strong game in his own end, Redden was a consistent contributor, scoring 101 goals and 410 points in his 838 games with the Senators. However, once he landed with the Rangers, he had an average year to his standards, scoring 26 points in 81 games, his lowest point total in the past 10 years of his career. In his second season with the Rangers, Redden saw a continued regression in his game, producing 2 goals and 14 points over 75 games. By this point, Rangers fans had become vastly irritated with Redden, as his play was nowhere near worth the $8 million he was getting paid in each of his first 2 seasons. The following season, Redden was waived and played each of the next 2 seasons in the AHL. This decision allowed the Rangers to remove the burden of Redden's salary off their salary cap. In the 2012-2013 season, Redden had his contract bought out by the Rangers. New York elected to pay him upwards of $3 million over a 3-year period to not play with their organization. In that same year, he played 23 games with the St. Louis Blues and was then traded to the Boston Bruins to play another 6, collecting 7 points total in what turned out to be his last season. Sean Avery and the Dallas Stars. The Dallas Stars signed super pest Sean Avery to a 4-year, $15.5 million contract. Avery did more than just disappoint on the ice, producing just 3 goals and 10 points in 23 games played. He was also disruptive in the locker room and embarrassing the team in front of the media off the ice. He deliberately made a rude and sexually suggestive comment to reporters in Calgary about Dion Phaneuf, who was then dating one of his former girlfriends. The league suspended Avery shortly after that, and to make matters worse, his own team didn't even back him up. After he served his suspension, the Stars placed Avery on waivers, and he was later reclaimed by the New York Rangers. In the end, Dallas got nothing but problems from Avery both on and off the ice, and they were extremely happy to cut ties with him just a few months after adding him to their roster. Jeff Finger, the Toronto Maple Leafs. For some reason known to only them, the Toronto Maple Leafs signed defenseman Jeff Finger to a 4-year, $14 million contract in 2008. Finger was not a big point producer, and he was not an overpowering player in his own zone. He had never scored more than 8 goals or 19 points in a single season, nor had he racked up a lot of penalty minutes. Needless to say, Finger was not worth this contract. He scored 6 goals and totaled 23 points in his first season in Toronto and had an unimpressive -7. Finger remained what he always was, a second or third pair defenseman. And after 2 years in Toronto, the Leafs waived Finger and he spent the last 2 seasons with the Toronto Marlies in the AHL. Thanks for watching our videos. Don't forget to leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button.